I have this really weird relationship to the word grind. I don't think grinding is ever good. If you're grinding, that's a pure recipe for burnout.
Hey, what's going on? It's Joel Irwin. Welcome to another very special episode of Sold with Webinars. Today, you are in for an amazing treat. Over the past few episodes, I have been trying to bring on some different types of people who are having success and are in a niche that is not typical, right? One of the biggest objections that I get and complaints, I don't want to say complaints, but the biggest objections I get for people who are thinking about jumping into this or trying to launch their offer, they get jaded because all they see are people who are promoting, let me show you how to do marketing. Let me show you how to make money, right? And they're like, oh, well, this isn't going to work for my niche because I'm not make money online. It's like, okay, well, let me give you just another example of how that belief is false. And so today I've brought on AJ Mizes, who is a client of ours, and he has done some incredible things with his power offer and with his mini webinar. So without ruining it, without without spoiling the show, AJ, welcome to the show, my man.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here, Joel.
So I reconnected with you a couple of weeks ago inside of our members community, because back in October you had, I can't even remember what it was, but you had posted something saying that, hey, launch my power offer, launch my mini webinar, and you had the entire week like booked out with calls. I think you said you had just closed your first sale and you had like 9 more calls booked out after you launched your power offer. And so, a few weeks later, actually it was over a month later, I followed up with you just to kind of see how the rest of it went. And without spoiling the results, give us the high level overview of how that campaign went when you launched it.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm a career coach and a leadership coach with roots from Facebook. It's where I left before starting my own gig. And I was really interested in your methodology in terms of how to really attract people into my funnel. And so my exec coaching, leadership coaching, HR stuff was taking off on its own just by the connections that I had. But I wasn't aware of a way to tell people about what I'm doing in the career coaching space. So I invested in your program. I built out with your team the mini webinar for the career coaching part of my business. And it was to completely warm traffic. So this is not to cold traffic. It wasn't to ads. It was to my list of about 3,000 people, and just letting them know about what I was doing and with the formula. And I blew up. I had 40 calls that over the last 2 months. I've had 40 sales calls. I've been closing about 40% of them.
Wow.
Which is pretty awesome. And so I've netted now $70,000 in 2 months just on that one revenue stream.
Yep. So when you launched this, did you do any sort of warm up, because this was going to your existing audience, right? Did you talk about the campaign? Did you do any sort of pre-launch content, or was it very much like, hey, I've got my offer, who wants it?
Yeah. I mean, I did a little tease. So, on social media, into my email list, I was like, something's coming and I'm launching this new company. It's going to be focusing on coaching. But that was really it. It was kind of a little bit of a warm up. And then it was just, here's the offer. Who wants it? And then it was just like gangbusters. And for a while I was like, crap, I might need to hire a salesperson or another coach to be able to handle this volume. But I did it myself. And it's been awesome. So not only, do we have the incredible revenue in 2 months time, but that revenue has helped me now formulate and invest now into forming a course. And so just like you say in a lot of your teachings, which is focus on the one-to-one, get those results, get the cash, right? So that you're able to reinvest that back into the business. That is literally exactly what happened. And so now I just came back from a mini retreat where I worked on my course for 4 days. Myself in, shut my email off, and that's what I'm doing. So it's totally paying off. And the mini webinar, dude, the thing about the mini webinar is it gets people primed and ready to work with you. They don't have as many questions. Like I notice the folks that I'm closing now versus, the folks that I'm closing that have watched the webinar versus the ones who have not. The close rate is significantly higher. Yeah. I don't know the exact percentage, but I'm literally actually, I just closed someone yesterday off of a LinkedIn message. We never jumped on the phone. She reached out. She was like, I want to get this career coaching from my boyfriend. He was laid off. I've seen all the stuff that you've been posting. Can you tell me about your program? I literally sent her to the mini webinar. She watched the mini webinar, came back, had some questions. She said, what's the cost? I gave her the cost. I did three different breakdowns of the ways that she could work with me or her boyfriend could work with me. And she bought it. So I didn't even have to jump on a call. So it was awesome.
So let's dive a little bit deeper in what your offer actually is. So it is career coaching, right? But like go into your target audience a little bit more. Like, what does your offer specifically help them with?
Yeah. So two personas. So it's either folks who have been laid off, who are looking to get back into work. So we're having struggle getting back into the workforce, or people who are wanting to make a career pivot or a company pivot, and they're currently employed. So really it's career changers or job seekers is my target market. I'm typically working with high achieving professionals. So folks who are at least 5 to 7 years in their career. I have worked with some new grads before, but I tend to get the people who are mid-level or higher in their career, working with a lot of directors, a lot of VPs, former even. And my offer helps them soup to nuts with their job search. So everything from designing what their ideal career needs to look like for their life, for their family, for their personal fulfillment. And how that, I have a phrase that I say all the time, what makes your feet tingle? So like getting them into a role when they wake up in the morning, their feet are tingling about the work that they get to do. And then the crafting of the resume, the crafting of the LinkedIn, the crafting of the cover letter, we do all of that for them. So that's kind of the done for you part of it. And then it comes with coaching on side door job application strategy. So how do you bypass the job application strategy and get referred? How do you nail the interview? And then how do you negotiate the offer? So literally soup to nuts job search support.
I've got a little bit of experience in this niche. And what I find fascinating is how much success you've had with one particular subset. So if you're listening right now, my first venture into entrepreneurialism was in the career development niche. So I wrote a study guide specifically for engineering professionals on how to pass one of the licensing exams for becoming a professional engineer. And super, super niche. And I was only selling a book, didn't really have any higher end offers. Fast forward a couple of months when I realized like I needed to create a higher end offer. I went into developing a course for engineering career professionals, showing them how to do a few of the things that you're doing, like ace a job interview, go find work in ideal companies. And so I was running webinars, and the people that I were attracting were broke. They were unemployed and they were broke. And so you work with the unemployed, the people who were just recently laid off. How, just out of curiosity, how many of those people are like, what's the breakdown? Like what percentage of people are unemployed and what percentage of people are employed looking to make a career shift that work with you?
Yeah, it's about 50%. So 50% of my clients are unemployed and 50 are employed right now, which is why it is so important to have different levels of ways that people can work with you, right? Because people who are unemployed don't maybe have the spending ability to be at your highest tier. And so a lot of the people who are unemployed are at my middle tier, just so that I do have some folks who are at the higher tier, but a lot of the unemployed folks are at the middle tier because that's what they can afford. And that gives them the accountability, that gives them the support, that still gives them the tools that they're looking for in order to land a job. And so those, I learned that from you. So that was the three tier approach, and it works, which I believe, right, is why you teach that, because you have to be able to give people some options.
Yeah, it's so wild because I like had it, I would get very nervous with that market because you're going after people who don't necessarily have money.
Yeah.
How many of the unemployed people will actually take like your mid to high level package, like your, tier 2 or tier 1?
The unemployed people?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So the unemployed people, I would say of that group, about 40% are at the middle tier, and about 60% are actually at the higher tier.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So it works. And the other thing too, like payment plans, right? Those are also super beneficial because you can spread out the costs. The other thing about the job searching niche is that in some states in the United States, those fees can be tax deductible. So it also is helpful in that regard.
Do you have to remind them that they're tax deductible as
Yeah,
you're
with like
going
a
over the
huge
cost?
asterisk that says like, I'm not a tax advisor, go talk to one, but these fees may be tax deductible. But then they do, right? They go talk to people and they find out that they are in some cases, and that makes it an easy win.
So was this a brand new offer that you launched when you did this with the mini webinar and the power offer, or had you tried to sell it in the past?
Yeah. So I left Facebook 9 weeks ago.
Wow.
And so this was a completely brand new offer. I'd been helping my friends and, former coworkers and peers in job search just because I had been on the other side of the table, and it was fun for me and it was cool to see when they would have a win. And so about a year ago, I had started making plans to leave and starting my own company. I was going to start in March, and then the Coco Roro came around and decided to put that on hold. And then in July, September, things started to come in place. I had people reaching out to me, wanting to sign contracts, and started wanting to have me consult with them. And so then I took the plunge. October 5th, I think was 4th, was my first day on my own after giving notice and leaving Facebook. And so it was a brand new spanking offer. Never charged for it before.
Now, so you said you had a list of about 3,000 people, right?
Yeah.
Where'd you get that list from? Was that an email list? Was that your social media?
Yeah. So on social media, I have a following all combined of about 15,000. And then with the email list, it were folks that I had just accumulated over the last 12 to 15 years working in the various roles that I had. So either working as a recruiter or working, connecting with folks on LinkedIn. So a variety of different places.
Got it. So that's just your internal network. That was no marketing. That was just,
No.
hey, here's my Rolodex, right?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
100%. And then, what's been cool to see as, I have backed off kind of launch mode, if you will, and just kind of sticking to content creation and, posting on LinkedIn, posting on Facebook, posting on Instagram, the same posts. So they're not all different. It's not a ton of work. But then you start getting the folks who don't know you, who are reaching out. And so I've started now booking and working with clients who I have no relationship with, former relationship with. So it was cool to kind of start with folks who knew of me just through professional relationships or friendships or family or whatever. And then I'm now starting getting into folks who we have no working relationship and they just believe in what I do and the results. So it's been fun.
What type of content are you using to attract those new prospects, new leads? Because you're not running ads right now, right?
No, I'm not. I will be in January, but not right now. I am doing a lot of just value adding content, written content on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I did do a video series for 2 weeks, a couple of weeks ago, which was, teaching kind of one segment of Career Amp, which is my program. For a while, those were like, I don't know, 4-minute videos each for five days. I have uploaded on YouTube. They're not search optimized, but I did have a client that I just signed last week that found me on YouTube. I literally have 9 subscribers. So I don't know how it happened. But she found me on YouTube. She's on my videos and she booked a call and we're working together now. So, I mean, it's crazy. I think, here's one thing that I will say to everybody who's listening, dude, there is crazy imposter syndrome that happens when you first start. And for me, I will use I statements. So I had huge imposter syndrome when I first started. I was nervous about getting started. I was like, this isn't going to work. What am I doing? I was contemplating going back to Facebook like 4 weeks after I had left. And I think entrepreneurship really teaches you a lot about thick skin. It teaches you a lot about grit. I have this really weird relationship to the word grind. I don't think grinding is ever good. If you're grinding, that's a pure recipe for burnout. So what I have though realized is that you just have to try, and you have to not attach a feeling or emotion to the result. Even when you have the big wins, when you're working and adding people to your roster, or when people say no and they don't want to work with you, or you're not seeing certain calls populate during the week, you just have to make small tweaks and pivots and believe in yourself and try, because stuff will happen that'll surprise you. Like this gal who came and saw my YouTube videos, and I literally have no following on YouTube. So that's been, I would say, the biggest learning over these last 8 to 10 weeks.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I mean, so all of these new leads that are coming through, are you still sending them to your mini webinar? Like you're still sending them like, hey, you need to watch this before our call?
Yeah, exactly. They usually write back like, hey, Jay, I see that you're a coach. Tell me about your services. And so, I instead of, taking that and like writing them back a bunch of things about what I do, I just say, awesome. Like, what type of coach are you looking for? I make sure that I'm sending them to the right place in terms of leadership or career coaching. If they say career coaching, they say, great, here's the link to the video. Let me know when you're done watching. And then once they're done watching, then they usually come back in the chat and they're like, hey, that sounds great. Like, how do we start talking? And then I just send them a link to the calendar. And where the video is, right, there's the application, but it's those personal moments and those personal conversations that are helping people move through the funnel. So I'd rather just send them a link to the calendar, invite to Calendly, and they just book a time to talk with me. And then the application's there.
100%, man. I mean, if you have the ability to talk to them, or if you're already in chat, I mean, don't break up the sales flow. Like, don't break up the, I've got this funnel. Like, you have to
follow the funnel.
You have to follow the steps. I mean, you want to follow the sales process, but if you're already in conversation with them, like, oh, fill out the application. It's like, you're chopping it up, and it's not necessarily ideal.
No, not needed.
So you're going to start cutting your old boss a check then, huh? It's just in January.
That's the plan, man. Mr. Zuckerberg's going to get some of his money back that he's paid me over the last 4 years. So we're starting ads in January. We're going to run ads for the course, and then the funnel is going to be go to the course, buy the course, and then if you want to work with me more one-on-one, the upsell is the one-on-one coaching with me. So not directly to the funnel, but the webinar, but the mini webinar will be used like later on in the sales cycle or customer journey.
So when you first discovered like this methodology, like what was the biggest thing that attracted you, that like was the biggest light bulb moment that made sense?
I think it was how short it was, right? The mini webinar is like not a big time commitment. You don't have to tell people, oh, you need to like spend an hour and a half with me to learn about how to work with me. And I didn't need to, craft a whole module that was teaching some big thing about how, like, part of my program. It really was like, hey, this is my offer. These are the components. These are the results that it have gotten. And if you want to talk with me, here's how. And it was just a super great way, but also incorporating the sales psychology into the mini webinar. So you actually get people to like want to book with you and like overcome some objections up front. Yeah. So I didn't want to spend a ton of time on the sales calls, like telling about my program over and over and over again. I just think that that's a huge waste of time. I'd rather say like, are we a good fit? Can I help you? What questions do you have about how I work? And it really was me. It's more now, the sales conversation is more about me finding out about them and just like having a chemistry conversation than it is like me spouting off a robotic script about my program.
Yeah. What's crazy is like, that's what I try and tell people. It's like, so you're closing 40%. Like, do you have any background in sales? I mean, when you were at Facebook, were you doing sales? Like, what was the?
No, I was not doing sales at Facebook. I was an HR leader there. So I was working with managers and leaders. I was supporting a group of 3,000 people globally, teaching their leaders and managers how to run really kick-ass teams and how to be an awesome leader.
That's awesome.
And so and before that, I was a VP of people at a tech company here in California. And but I will say, my very first job out of Ithaca, out of school, was I was selling luxury hospitality sports resort memberships to the wealthy. And this was in the recession, so it was really freaking hard. I did not enjoy that job. From that job, I moved into training and development. But that was my kind of, I guess, first foray into sales. But I haven't done it for like 15 years.
Right. Yep. So, it's wild because it's hard for me to explain that to people. It's like, I'm not a salesperson. Like if you give me a script and you tell me to do the typical strategy session, I'll lose the sale 9.5 times out of 10. Right. And so that's how that was how I was trained. That's what I learned was get the golden script. Like, oh my God, this is the script that'll make you millions. And like after a while, I'm just like, screw this, like there's no need to do that. And that was the whole development of like what we're talking about. Like, it's all about pre-selling. Like, okay, here's what I've got. Here's what it will do for you. Here's how we can discuss if it's a good fit for you. I want these calls to be a Q&A call, really. Like, let's figure out if we're a good fit for each other and if I can actually help you. And that was really the whole methodology with my sales system. And I didn't even consider it a sales system. It was just like, hey, listen, I hate strategy sessions. If you hate strategy sessions, then you should probably be using the system to
exactly
to enroll people. And
yeah. I mean, you see people out there that are doing like hour-long discovery calls or strategy sessions, whatever vernacular you want to use. And I can't imagine. Like, can you imagine if I was doing an hour-long for 40 hours? That's 40 hours of conversations. And so my calls are 25 minutes. They're 25 minutes in and off the call. They're either making a decision on the phone, or I give them 5 days from the time that we hang up to take the opportunity to work together. And that's it, So it is about pre-selling, and it is about doing all of that up front.
Yep. Because there's, in my opinion, and I'm sure there are sales professionals listening to this call right now, in my opinion, like there's no need for anything longer than that. Maybe somebody needs a second call. Like every situation is going to be different, but like your methodology, like the system that you follow, like, God, if you're spending an hour on discovery and then maybe you have to have another call to actually sell them, like it's, all those discovery sessions are doing is everything that we do in the automated mini webinar. Like that's all it is. It's kind of like
exactly
showing them the gap, showing them the methodology, but
right. Teaching, and then, seeing if there's chemistry.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, dude, I love it, man. Congratulations. I guess I forgot that you were working at Facebook. I didn't realize it was so recent, like 9 weeks ago, right?
Like literally 9 weeks ago. It was nuts.
And just leveraging your existing contacts. That's what I want people to understand is like, they all think that they need to go straight to Facebook ads. It's like, I'm sales first and then marketing, right? But, until there's a balance, it's like, be resourceful, right? You've got an existing audience, whether that's, an email list or just a stack of business cards from people that you've met over the years. That's worth something. That's worth something. In your case, it's worth $70,000 when you first leave your job. Like,
right.
Not bad, right?
So lucky. Yeah. It's lucky and grateful and so thankful. And I'll say too, like, it's proof of concept, right? I think before I was going to start spending thousands of dollars a month on ads, I wanted to make sure that like this thing was converting. And I know warm leads, right, are going to convert much higher than cold traffic. But if I'm converting these at 40%, like that's a great place to start. And then, go into cold traffic from there, which I've started to do just organically.
Yep.
But here we are.
That's awesome. Well, dude, AJ, tell people where they can go find you. Where can they go check out your stuff if they're interested in, if they're interested in anything that you've got to offer?
Yeah, 100%. So you can check me out at www.thehumanreach.com, or you can find me on Instagram, AJ Mizes, or Facebook, AJ Mizes, and apparently YouTube, AJ Mizes as well.
Be my 10th subscriber.
Yeah, exactly. Please.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me, Joel. It's been so fun talking with you.
Yeah, dude, it was a blast. Super grateful for you. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your journey, sharing your experience, and congrats. And onward and upward, man. It's all uphill from here. So, anyone listening right now, go check out AJ's stuff. Go let him know that you heard him on the Sold Webinars podcast. And we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.